Hello, Workplace Math 10 students. This is the 8th lesson in the graphing unit. Today we're going to be talking about a new type of graph called a pictograph. So let's get into that. So let's take a look at the assignment first, what it will look like. So in Google Classroom, you should see this assignment. It's going to be called G8 and it's called pictographs. And the actual mathematic assignment that we're going to be working on is called pictographs with scale and half symbols. So let's take a look. So basically, we have been working through this graphing unit, and so far we've talked about line graphs, we've talked about bar graphs, and for the last few lessons, the last 3 lessons, we've been talking about pie, or what they call sector graphs in mathematics. And today we're looking at a new type of graph called a pictograph. So you may have seen something like this before. Generally speaking, pictographs, as the name would suggest, use pictures to represent values of how much items a particular person or thing has. So in this case here, because we have 1 apple, basically there's 2 apples represented by Jessica, there is 4 apples represented by John, and 1 apple represented by Eric. Now you can also, with a pictograph, have what's called the legend here, where it's more than, each of those pictures is representing more than 1. So in this case, a full fish is worth 10 and a half fish is worth 5. So when we look at something like Julie here, we see that she has 2.5 of these, so that actually makes 25 fish, and so forth. So let's take a look at how this looks. Let's take a look at some examples from the actual mathletics assignment. So this is an example you would see in this picture graphs with scale and half symbols. So it'll have a question like this. It will say, how many trains does Harry have? Well, this is a fairly easy one. Basically, the trains only represent 1 train at a time. So if we look at Harry and we count up how many, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, well, that's why Harry has 5 trains. Now, let's look at one that's a little bit more complex. So in this case here, we have a legend, and what we see is that a full robot represents 10 robots, and that a half robot represents 5 robots. The other thing we see here is that it's asking us not how many robots one person has, but what's asking us how many robots Georgia and Virginia combined have. So if we look at Georgia, we see that she has 1, 2, and 3. But these are each worth 10, so it's really 10, 20, 30, and then another half. So Georgia has 35, and then we see that Virginia has 1, which is really 10, so 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50. So collectively, Virginia has 50. Now we want to know how much they both have together, so we have to add these 2 together, 35 plus 50, which is going to give us 85. And that's why the right answer for this is 85. So just using our calculator once again, in case that's hard to do in your head, we would simply be looking at 35 plus 50, which is equal to 85. And so that's why, once again, we have as the answer 85. Now let's take a look at a slightly different question, very similar though. It says here, how many more fish does Carolyn have compared to Abigail? So this time we're asking how many more fish. So basically we're saying that Carolyn has more fish than Abigail, but how many more? So what we have to do first is figure out how much each has. So in this case here, the legend tells us that a full fish is 10, half fish is 5. So we see that Abigail has 10, 20, and then 5. So she has 25 fish. Whereas Carolyn has 10, 20, and then another full, so 30 fish. And now what we're asking is the difference between these two. So we have to take 30 and subtract from that the 25 from Abigail. And the difference between these two is our answer of 5. So that's where we get that answer there. And so once again, if we were to use our calculator, it would basically just simply be 30 minus the 25 is going to give us the value of 5 that we have, which is our answer here. So that's it. There's really not a lot of difficulty to these questions. Hopefully that's enough for you to be able to complete this assignment. So good luck. And once again, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to send me an email or